I stood at the entrance of the caverns, the warm air brushing against my skin as the setting sun cast long shadows behind me. The valley stretched out before me, vast and empty. This was the first time I had left the Shadowlands since meeting my mate, Magdalena, and the distance between us felt unbearable. The memories of our precious moments together last weekend haunted me, making every step away from her that much harder. Ash, my wolf, was restless last night, craving to claim her, to mark her as ours. But I kept reminding him of the vision I'd seen. Not yet. I had to tell him over and over again, throughout the night, even as the temptation gnawed at me as well. It's safe to say I had not had much sleep before my fight with the Uktena. I had spent my days in preparation for my fight, sparring and running obstacle courses designed by Tekos. He trained me on the weaknesses of the Uktena, which there weren't much of. Then I would leave the desert and spend my nights with Magdalena in the new home I had procured for us. In hindsight, it was probably not the most tactical thing to do. Ash laughed sinisterly in my mind as I smirked about having no testosterone left. When I'm near her, I can't help myself. We can't help ourselves. It's the primal wolf in us.
Do we have regrets?
Ash boasted, his voice smug in the back of my mind. Not at all, I replied, gazing out over the wide valley before me, the memories of our nights together still vivid, still lingering on my skin. The weight of the coming battle pressed against my shoulders, but in that moment, all I could think of was Magdalena, her touch, her taste, the way her body had responded to mine. And I knew, deep down, that nothing could keep us apart for long. This was simply a task I had to quickly do. This beautiful scenery before me was the great divide known as the Grand Canyon, home to the Uktena I was hunting. Tekos had said the right one would come, that the ancestors would beckon him to seek me out once I took on the spirit of the Thunderbird, one of its ancient enemies. The air was thick with anticipation, and the scent of damp red earth mixing with ozone reminded me of blood. The metallic scent was almost tangled in my mouth. I donned the Thunderbird regalia. Its intricate designs and vibrant colors were a tribute to the powerful spirit I invoked. The feathers rustled softly, whispering secrets of the ancient battles between the Thunderbird and the Uktena I would never know. The regalia was more than just a costume. It was a living tool of power, a conduit to the spirit world. I am not a skin shifter like Tekos, but I could still feel its power permeating my body, like little electric shocks, as it attempted to make me shift, but was failed. I stood for a few minutes, letting the regalia attune to me, as Tekos had instructed, and watched the sky. As the final rays of moonlight filtered through the cavern entrance, I began the sacred dance I was taught. My feet pounded the ground, rhythmically slowly at first, each step echoing through the vast chamber before me. The sound reverberated off the walls of the canyon, creating a symphony of power and intent. The sound would have been inaudible to humans, but to me and the Uktena, it was deafening. The Thunderbird and Uktena had been ancient enemies, and visions of their battles flooded my mind interchangeably with the beats. My dance was a challenge, a call to the Serpent to face me, a summons. With each movement, I felt a transformation taking place. The power of the Thunderbird flowed through me, merging with my own werewolf strength. The air crackled with energy as I danced, electrifying the feathers, making me feel like I could almost fly. My body, though, stayed grounded and continued to move with a primal grace. The ground beneath me seemed to pulse in response, and I knew that Uktena could sense my presence. Tekos had said I would not transform physically into the Thunderbird, and he was right. But he never said anything about spiritually. I could feel the Thunderbird spirit within me. It was familiar. At this moment, I realized that it has always been with me. I realized that now, from my parents' death and losing my wolf temporarily to my first kill till now. It was with me, signaling its presence as lightning in the sky, only I was too young to realize what that presence was. Just like the owl spirit that ran through me after Tekos gifted me his feather, the Thunderbird spirit was here too, with power reverberating in my bones. And it made sense after the story Tekos had told me. All shifters have a piece of the Thunderbird feather in our souls. It is a part of us, entwined within our DNA. Moments later, a deep rumble echoed through the cavern. The ground shook, and the air grew heavy with an oppressive force. The Uktena was coming. I could see its massive form slithering through the shadows below, its scales glistening like obsidian. The diamond in its head, dark and vibrant, pulsed with a malevolent energy. The creature was a colossal black serpent, its sleek. Scales glistening with a menacing sheen as it moved with the sinuous grace of a viper. Every motion was calculated, predatory, its body undulating with an eerie elegance that sent shivers down my spine. But what truly set this monstrous serpent apart from all snakes was the magnificent wreath of purple feathers that encircled the base of its head like a lion's mane, a vivid and regal contrast against its dark form. These feathers fluttered softly with each movement, creating a striking halo that hinted at some ancient, mystical power. Atop its head, towering above the fearsome diamond-shaped eyes that glowed with an unearthly silver light, was an enormous set of antlers. These antlers arched gracefully like a crown, circling the black diamond on its head in a protective gesture. It added an air of majesty to the beast's terrifying presence. The creature was an awe-inspiring fusion of primal savagery and otherworldly beauty, a living embodiment of nature's most fearsome and exquisite creations. It was a shame that I was going to have to kill it. The Uktena's eyes locked onto mine. They were filled with an ancient hatred. It lunged straight for me, but I was ready. In an instant and with a quickness I had mastered, I removed the regalia and relaced it. Yet it did not fall. It simply flew away with the wind. It seemed to have been carried away by a spirit of its own, as I saw it flying away in the periphery of my sight, as if it were alive. I then shifted into my wolf form right before the Uktena had a chance to strike. My senses heightened, and my muscles coiled for action. The Uktena struck, but I dodged, moving with the agility of a predator. Ash's sharp howls permeated the air in response to the Uktena's squeaks and hisses. His roars were like thunder echoing off the ancient caverns. Our battle had begun. I attacked, aiming for the spot just behind the diamond. I could hear the quickening of its heartbeat reverberate against my eardrums. But the Uktena was swift and cunning. It twisted and turned, evading my strikes with ease. Each time I missed, the serpent's hiss grew louder, its rage more palpable. The cavern was a blur of movement and sound, our forms locked in a deadly dance. Frustration began to seep into my mind. I had missed several times, and the Uktena showed no signs of weakening. I needed a new strategy, a way to outsmart the ancient beast. A desperate move, I shifted back into human form. The Uktena paused, perhaps puzzled by my sudden change. Maybe the beast was shocked that I would fight him as a human. Nonetheless, this was my chance. I whistled, a high-pitched sound that pierced the discord of battle. It was the same sound that I had lulled Mags's beast with, a sound that could hypnotize and that only shifters could make. The Uktena's movement slowed, its eyes glazing over as the whistle took effect. The serpent swayed, caught in the spell, and I seized the moment. I ran in the direction of where my silver sword lay, the same sword I saved from my first vampire kill in Romania. It felt cold and familiar in my grip. With a determined war cry, I lunged forward and thrust the sword, aiming for the heart of the serpent. But even in a lulled state, he recoiled quickly and I missed again. His mouth was wide and his fangs folded outward. He was about to swallow me whole as I stood there, looking up at him, vulnerable. But I wasn't afraid of this monster. It had horns on its head that resembled antlers and feathers that graced the periphery of its bald scalp. But it was only an animal. It was then that I made the connection. This monster was where the witch had gotten his feathers from, not from a Thunderbird. The feathers were alike but so different. They were waxier and thicker than the plumes of the Thunderbird, perfect for swimming.
Kill him fast.
The last words of Tekos rang in my ears like a distant echo, jarring me back into the present. Quickly, Ash left to the left and avoided his strike. Until this time, I was confident that I would succeed in what Tekos had demanded. But as the battle dragged on, the certainty of my hubris began to erode. The Uktena was unlike any foe I had ever faced. Its ancient power was a force that seemed to defy time itself. Every move I made was countered by the Serpent's unyielding strength, and I started to question whether I could truly conquer this beast. The terrain we traversed was unforgiving. We clashed across jagged cliffs that seemed to reach for the sky. Over and over, vast stretches of rocky ground we danced in battle over miles. We went through waterways so deep and dark they felt like the veins of the earth itself. The Uktena was cunning, attempting to lose me by diving into underwater caves, its sinuous body slipping through narrow crevices like a liquid shadow. Each time I lunged after it, my muscles straining as I grabbed hold of its tail, using all my might to yank the creature back into the open air. But it was exhausting work, and the constant battle was wearing me down in ways I hadn't anticipated. Ash was struggling too. His power lay in speed and agility on land, but water was another matter entirely. The continuous need to shift, to partially transform, and then revert, was taking a toll on both of us. My limbs ached from the effort, my mind straining to maintain control over the relentless shifts. The storm above us grew darker with each passing moment, the clouds swirling like a gathering tempest. Thunder rumbled ominously in the distance, and I could see tornado-like apparitions prancing around us, harbingers of the storm's fury. We found ourselves in a narrow ravine. The Uktena had kited me here for some strange reason. Walls were closing in around us like the jaws of some great beast. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, sharp and biting, a warning that the Uktena's diamond had fully charged.
We need to kill him fast,
Ash warned. I know. I am trying, I responded. My heart pounded in my chest, the realization hitting me like a blow. We were running out of time. Without a second thought, I shifted fully into my wolf form. The transformation, seamless and immediate. Ash's power surged through me, his speed and agility like a lifeline in the chaos of the fight. But even Ash, as powerful as he was, could feel the strain. Every muscle screamed with exertion, but there was no room for hesitation. Crack! The first bolt of lightning struck, and before I could fully register it, we had vanished from where we stood, reappearing several meters away. The movement was so swift that it felt like we had been ripped from one place and stitched into another in the blink of an eye. From the distance, I could see an ominous green gas escaping around the crackling of the lightning, as if it had created its own type of ozone.
We have to stay away from the poisonous gas,
Ash explained. Oh, I knew this all too well. If we inhaled it, we would die instantly. The ground beneath our paws was still vibrating from the impact when another bolt followed. Crack! In an instant, we were behind the Uktena and its poison cloud, our breath coming in sharp gasps, the air charged with electricity once more. The serpent's enormous, coiled body twisted violently, its scales glistening in the dim light. But despite its terrifying presence, I could sense something shifting in the battle's tide. The Uktena was beginning to slow. Each strike it launched was less precise, its movements more labored. I could see it in the way its massive head dipped, and how its tail thrashed with less force. It was growing tired, just as I was. The realization should have filled me with hope, but all I felt was a deep, gnawing fear. This wasn't just a fight. It was a test of endurance, of who could outlast the other in this deadly game. Had I grown soft away from the Carpathian Mountains? The storm overhead had reached its peak, the sky now a churning mass of black clouds and crackling energy. The wind howled through the ravine, tearing at my fur, stinging my eyes. Every instinct I had screamed that this was the moment, the point of no return. I couldn't afford to wait any longer. "Come on, Ash," I urged, the words a desperate plea in the silence of my mind. "We have to end this, now." I could feel Ash's agreement, his resolve hardening into something almost tangible. He was my partner in this, my other half, and together we were going to bring this creature down. "Think of Little Red," I growled. "We had to kill this thing, for my people, for Magdalena, for the future that hung in the balance." The Uktena turned, its eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and fear, the realization of its own weakening dawning in those ancient, malevolent depths. It reared back, its head snapping forward in a final, desperate attempt to strike. But I was ready. My muscles coiled like springs, every fiber of my being focused on this one moment, this one chance. With a burst of speed that defied the storm, that defied even the limitations of my own body, Ash and I lunged forward, forgoing the silver weapons I had previously used against him. The world around us blurred, reduced to a tunnel of sound and light. The only clear image was the gleaming diamond embedded in the Uktena's forehead. "Kill Ash. Go for the heart," I commanded. Time seemed to slow as I reached out, my claws extended, aiming for that one vulnerable spot that pulsed with life and death in each beat. Crack! The sky exploded in a blinding flash as the serpent unleashed its final attack, the diamond glowing with an otherworldly light. But I was faster. Ash was faster. In the split second before the lightning could strike, before the Uktena could unleash its deadly power, my claws found their mark. With a roar that echoed through the ravine, I plunged my claws into the Uktena's neck, piercing the flesh beneath the diamond, the creature's vulnerable heart. There was a moment of silence, a pause in the universe itself, and then the Uktena convulsed violently, its body writhing in agony. The energy from the diamond exploded outward, a shockwave that knocked me back. But I held onto it with Ash's strong jaw, refusing to let go. The serpent's death throes were terrifying, its massive form thrashing and twisting as it tried to dislodge me, even after its death. It was just its body and nerves releasing the last of its energy, but it was strong. And it was also too late. It was dying. The light in its eyes dimmed. The power in its body drained away, and with one final shudder, we closed in on the beast's heart with our muzzle separating it from its body. Tearing through its flesh further, we leapt in the air, covered in the blood of the Uktena. The beast was dead. We landed on the desert floor with a light thud. The Uktena collapsed to the ground, lifeless. I took a moment to gather my senses while letting Ash continue to have full control. Ash tore at the heart in his muzzle, as if it were still alive. He then gulped it down in one clean swallow. It tasted like metal and death, but it went down smooth. My body trembled with exhaustion and adrenaline. I stared at the deformed snake and reveled in my victory for a while longer. Its blood was in my mouth, its taste a hard reminder of a certain little werewolf who was probably wondering where I was. The storm above began to dissipate, the clouds parting as if the heavens themselves had been waiting for this moment. The air was heavy with the scent of rain and ozone, but there was something else, a sense of peace, of completion. I looked down at the Uktena, its once mighty form now still and silent. The diamond no longer glowing was embedded in its head, my new trophy of the battle we had just fought. Carefully, reverently, I reached out and took it. feeling its cool weight in my hand. This was what I had risked everything for. But it wasn't just about the power it held. It was about the promise it represented, the future I could now secure for my people. For Magdalena. I would be stronger as ever now to finally defeat the witch and my uncle. As I stood there in the aftermath of the battle, the world seemed to come back into focus, the colors more vibrant, the sounds clearer. The fight was over, but the journey was just beginning. There was still so much to do, so many challenges ahead. But for now, I allowed myself a moment of relief, of triumph. I had done it. We had done it. Suddenly, my body collapsed as I surrendered to my exhaustion and sat on the hard and jagged earth. I was sticky with sweat and the blood of the Uktena, and red earth clung to my skin as a result of lying in it, but I did not care. I reached for my hat that lay nearby and placed it on my head. I then reached down and plucked a feather from the Uktena and placed it into the brim nonchalantly on the right side of my hat. How I wished I had some of Tico's famous tobacco to smoke. Then I gathered the diamond from its place on my lap, its dark surface still pulsing with residual energy. It was a black diamond, vibrant and strong. It was not like the other diamonds I had heard about Uktena's having.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Hurry up and do it, scolded Ash. I just chuckled. I wanted to savor this moment. As my fingers closed around it, the diamond began to melt, its essence absorbing into my body. A surge of energy coursed through me, energizing my once war-torn muscles, a mingling of my own power with that of the fallen serpent. Its power was finally mine. Instinctively, I leaned back with my arms out as the power of the diamond coursed through my veins, communing with my own spirit. I gazed up at the night sky. The darkness above mirrored the storm that brewed within me. Lightning crackled in my eyes, obscuring my vision. A fierce and untamed energy surged through every fiber of my being. As the final surge of power coursed into me, I could feel it start to build, an unstoppable force demanding release. With a primal instinct, I threw my head back further and unleashed a deafening, thunderous howl that echoed through the night, shaking the very air around me. In that moment, I felt my fangs elongate as my eyes burned with a piercing light, glowing like twin beacons in the darkness. I was no longer just a werewolf. I was a force of nature, wild and unstoppable, a predator ready to claim the night. The transformation was now complete. I could feel the strength of the Uktena within me, a dark power tempered by my own will. I now carried within me the essence of the Uktena, as well as the Thunderbird.
And wolf,
Ash reminded. Yes, and wolf. With the spirit of the Thunderbird and the essence of the Uktena within me, I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As I stood, the last rays of the setting sun painted the sky in hues of red and gold. It had not occurred to me that we have been locked in battle with the Uktena all night and day. My mind instantly went to Mags. Was she okay? I was naked and dirty, so I shifted and looked for the owl's Thunderbird regalia. Something told me it wasn't here, though. It was back at the Kiva. I could suddenly see it in my mind's eye, primed and pressed, sitting on a wooden rack inside the sacred Kiva. I gasped at the realization that the dark diamond had somehow granted me powers of far sight. I couldn't wait to see what else it could do. Mags, show me Mags, I said out loud. I saw her tied to a table and blindfolded. She was in trouble. I could see her father's blonde hair as he spoke to one of his ghouls. Damn that man,
I knew it was too good to be true,
growled Ash. Let's go get our mate, I growled back with mind link. Another loud howl escaped my muzzle and power surged through my veins. Thunder shook the night skies as if it were returning my call to action. It started to rain again, and I felt the droplets cleanse my coat of most of the serpent's blood. as I ran like lightning in the direction of her father's house, towards our love.
Follow and help me bring more content to you.